Hi, welcome to Farm to Table with Amber. Today I'm going to show you how to plant new bare root fruit trees and a few tips on how to do that. So get a good root stock on your tree, and then also when you're planting, make sure you create a nice big enough hole to get it deep enough. And then you want to make sure that your junction to the tree is just level with the soil. And I'll show you a little bit closer up how that looks. And then I use a nice root stimulator, and I'll show you a few things on the root stimulator why that's so good. And of course, trees need mostly sunlight, and they might have a little bit of shade here in the morning, but then at least 8 hours of sunlight. So that's important as well. And the trees that I've planted here are a variety of different trees. I've got some plum and apple, apricot, peaches, a cherry tree, and an apricot tree. So it's just a small little orchard, but I like having a little bit of everything, and orchards are super fun. Also, another tip in planting fruit trees is wait till May, late April, early May. I'm going to do a little bit of pruning on these trees as well. Those first two are plum. This is a sour cherry. And then we've got a pear tree and 2 apple trees. And both of these are Honeycrisp. And I still have 9 more trees to plant. So you want to make sure you have a healthy rootstock. And I'm going to plant some peach trees here. Probably 6 peach and 3 apricot. But these rootstocks are really healthy. If they're kind of long or really super wide, you can prune a few of these roots off to get them in the ground, because then you don't want to have to dig a massive hole, and you can do that and they'll still be healthy. So I'm excited to get these into the ground. Yeah, I might prune a little bit of that off. Planting fruit trees, they're pretty simple. You want to make sure that you get this knob right here level with the ground when you plant, and of course all the roots underground. Yeah, so you want that little knob level with the ground, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like over here. So it looks great on this plum tree. That little knob is level with the ground. You can see that. Here, I'll show you another example. Over here, that knob's a little bit higher up, but fairly close to the ground. So, and this sour cherry, there we go, that's really close to the ground there. These trees need a nice root stimulator, and this is the brand that I use. And for about every 2 gallons, you put in about 2.5 tablespoons. So there are 2 gallons in here. So I'm just going to put 7 tablespoons. No, 6. Yeah, let's do that. Just read the back of the container on how much you need to put per tree. And this I'm going to put about 1 gallon per tree. So this is a nice peach tree, and it's a hardy one for northern Utah. You kind of have to have hardy. And I'm just going to pour 1 gallon on that tree. And you'll want to water the tree before you add the root stimulator and let the water seep in. And then a little later add the root stimulator. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the other tree. Also, I'm going to do a little bit of pruning on these trees, these young ones. You want to make sure that they're pruned properly and that you create a nice whorl in their young life. My dad did a pruning demonstration on a large cherry tree. So if you want to learn how to prune larger trees, go and watch that. But this is again on the new trees. So learning how to plant, learning how to prune them, and how to care for them in their early stages of life. As you can see here, I'm going to start a little bit of pruning, and I'm starting with the Desiree peach. I waited for a little bit, maybe a week or so, before I started pruning these after planting, just to let them get established. And I'm just going to show you a little bit about pruning these young trees. Of course, so I'm just going to take kind of this dead limb off. And I'm going to start here at the bottom. Some of these limbs are needing to be removed because they're just a little too low. So that's what you would do with a new tree, is cut some of these lower limbs, especially peaches. You don't want them to be low-hanging fruit. So I'm just cutting some of these off down here, and you want to maintain the central line. And of course you want a nice whorl, and a whorl tends to be like, it looks like this with the three branches out like this, and it creates kind of a nice whorl. And this one is dying, so I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm just going to gently tip the tree. You want the efforts of the tree to go into growing and not necessarily towards the producing of the leaves and stuff. So you just want them to grow. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to tip this one off a little bit. Tip that and tip that. There. And I'm going to leave these out here. That's a beautiful whorl. And all up the tree, you can see a beautiful whorl. I'll show you. I took out the branches down below, and then I left these in to maintain the whorl clear up to the top. And that's a beautiful peach tree, as you can see. So that's kind of what you want to do with your new trees. And I'll show you in a minute on a plum tree what to do. So you can see here, this one needs to be trimmed a bit, but I'm not taking it completely off. And this is a plum tree. We're just going to trim it back like that and then start tipping it. So this needs to be tipped like that. Tip that. Tip this one. And tip that. I'm going to tip this one back just a little bit more. And you're tipping them to give the strength to the tree, and just kind of tip these ends off. And I'm going to do it all the way up to the top. Okay. But I really like the look of the whorls here, all the way up here. So even from the bottom, clear to the center and to the top. There's some dead limbs here I'm going to cut out. And tip this one a little bit more. But I really like the look of that plum tree. And that's really all you need to do to get that nice and pruned. So that's a couple of different trees that I'm giving you some suggestions on pruning. And that looks beautiful. All right, so those are a few suggestions and tips on planting your new trees and also pruning your new trees. And hopefully you learned something today. Thanks for watching Farm to Table with Amber. Have a great day.